Hello, everyone. I wanted to talk a little bit about our first reading from Homer Sarasohn, the opening of his Fundamentals of Industrial Management manual. These videos will be put up for every reading. Sorry, it's a little late this week, but I wanted to put up a video about Sarasohn, and there'll be videos put up for every reading from now on. These videos are meant to supplement your reading, certainly not to replace them, but I felt that in addition to the regular individual meetings that we'll be having, that for what is basically an asynchronous course, I always put up videos that I prepare on the readings. These videos are meant to enhance your understanding of the reading. They certainly are not meant to replace the reading. So, I want to talk a little bit about Homer Sarasohn. This really changed my whole attitude towards teaching business ethics. Reading this for the first time many years ago, I was just really startled by what Sarasohn was saying and the kind of questions he was asking. These are fundamental philosophical questions about business. Why does any company exist? What is the reason for being of any business enterprise? That is getting very philosophical. It really is a question in the philosophy of business, which I guess is something that transcends business ethics and just gets to the general philosophical understanding of what a business is and what it's for. And that's the question he's asking. The idea is here is that a company, which is a human creation, it must have a purpose. It must have something that it's trying to do, that it exists in order to achieve something. And Sarasohn is asking, what is that thing? Very philosophical way of going about it. And the first thing he says is that it can't be profit. That is, the reason for being of a company cannot be to make money. It cannot be to make a profit. That is a thoughtless and lazy response, and that it's erroneous. Um, it is, as he says, an incomplete idea. So, what is the objective of a company? Well, that is where things get a little more difficult. Right? He wants the reason for being of a business enterprise, a company's objective. Uh, it should have a basic policy. He talks about here on the second page the objective of the enterprise. It'll be different for every business because every business is trying to do something different. Every business is meant to make a profit, unless it's a nonprofit. In that case, it's not really a business. And in that, they're the same, but that's sort of uninteresting thing. And if you just sort of say we're in business to make a profit, you're missing the point. Um, as he says here on the first page, to say that the purpose of a business is to make a profit, he says there is another fault that I would find in such a statement. It is entirely selfish and one sided. It ignores entirely the sociologic aspects that should be part of a company's thinking. The business enterprise must be founded upon a sense of responsibility to the public and to its employees, service to its customers, the well being of its employees, and good citizenship in the communities in which it operates. These are cardinal principles fundamental to any business. They provide the platform upon which a profitable company is built. So, the profits are not the goal of the company. Profits are something that's made possible by the company pursuing its goal, you might say. And as an example of this, they quote the founder of the Newport News Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company, who said, "We shall build good ships here." That guy knew what the purpose of his company was, to build good ships at a profit if we can, at a loss if we must, but always good ships. So obviously, for a shipbuilding company, the purpose of the company is going to be different from a grocery store or a software company or a home building company. But you get the idea. Um, what is the purpose of Starbucks as a business enterprise? It's to serve coffee. And that is its fundamental reason for being, is to serve coffee. And presumably to serve good coffee and to make sure that its customers have a good experience. with its coffee. That's what enables profits, but that's not why. Profits are not why it's in business. What is the purpose of the Ford Motor Company? It's to make good cars and trucks, and hopefully a profit comes from that. That's the idea. Well, I don't know if you ever heard anything like this. I don't think I had ever really, when I first read it, heard anything quite like it. That is to say that a company can't base itself on profit. A company has to base itself on some kind of service that it provides to the community. And that it will not be a successful company unless it does. It has to have that focus. And I think Sarasohn would say, well, we can see what happens to companies when it loses that, when they lose that focus. I would say that Starbucks and Ford Motors are a good example of what happens. I think that Starbucks has lost its focus and it is suffering as a result, as far as I know. Starbucks used to be really good. I don't think it's that good anymore. I think it's done some things to improve the quality of its coffee, but I don't know. I think Starbucks is in trouble. Ford Motors is still with us, thank goodness. Very important American company. It has had its problems. You know, the Ford cars used to be the best in the world, really, for the price. Back in the old days of the Model T, and then maybe something happened in the 1960s and 70s where the quality of the car deteriorated. Maybe it's finding its way back. But that's the idea. You know, that is that the two ideas go together. That the reason that businesses exist is to serve the public, and that businesses are about serving in a particular way and doing as good a job as possible, so that it has to be very clear about what it's actually trying to do, um, so it can focus on the best possible way to do that, to make that product or provide that service. It's, I think, incredible, really. But there are, of course, questions. And, I tried to raise questions as I try to raise questions about every reading. Whether we agree or disagree with anything on a first reading, we've got to try to critically evaluate it. And that's what I tried to do in the discussion board, was to ask whether you think that this is really feasible. That can a company really be a success if it implements this business philosophy? I don't know. I hope so, because it sounds so noble. And it sounds like this is the kind of world we want to live in, where businesses are not focused number one on profits. They're focused number one on doing a good job at whatever they do. I mean, if you're going to buy a house, do you want to buy a house from the house builder that's concerned number one with profit, or do you want to buy a house from the house builder that's concerned number one with building a quality house? I mean that. But whether or not it's possible, I've read some discussion posts that really question it, and it is questionable. But I think it's an amazing and at least credible fundamental business philosophy.